Well, it's so good to have you back from that first discussion where we had to talk about the consistent national grid collapse. Sometimes you begin to think, why is this thing happening all the time? And why the silence? And why would it keep happening? The privatization? How much power do we have? A lot of questions at the hearts of Nigerians. And these are not questions that can be addressed in just one sitting, not in one discussion, as a matter of fact. Bringing to you again is another discussion that has to do with what's happening in political parties around the world. But then we're narrowing it down to the Nigeria system, where political parties are having different crises. Not just the crisis that is the problem. There is an assignment that is ahead in 2027, as some people will call it. But then Nigerians are eagerly looking forward to when Suko will return again. But then sometimes you'll be forced to ask questions. This crisis happening, is it some form of distraction, or somebody is trying to distract someone else against 2027? All this will form the basis for our discussions today on Global Morning. In fact, I have an ex-lawmaker right here and a public affairs analyst, Honorable CLETUS OBUN. He's joining me on the conversation this morning. It's good to have you. Good morning.
Good morning, and God bless Nigeria.
God bless Nigeria. As a matter of fact, let's quickly look at what we are talking about today. Some persons are really confused about the crisis happening in different parties, especially that of the Labour Party. A lot of people are feeling disappointed right now. Remember the Abure faction. Then you begin to talk about the fact that a lawmaker defected from Labour Party to the opposition party, the APC, the ruling party, as the case may be. And so many crises happening in not just the Labour Party alone, even in PDP. You are quite aware of the factions, the crisis, the Damagun case. Then you move from there, you talk about the fact that some governors are not happy, some other persons. The faction is everywhere. And someone is talking about alliance right here. So what would you have to say? Can we say these are some form of distraction, or we can say these crises are real?
The crises are real and were buried within the parties from their formation because they were built on false foundations. A conquer mixture of disparate, uncoordinated, unconvinced partners coming together for the purpose of grabbing power, never for the purpose of forming government and developing community or society. This is the foundation, and the facts are now beginning to show. What lies put together, the truth will completely disintegrate. So what we found was a false foundation with the sole purpose of getting power in 2023. And people who didn't understand it, I mean, we've been here and we know how opposition parties operate. See the metamorphosis of AMPP, AD, ACD, Advanced Congress of Democrats, how they coalesced over time, consciously, deliberately. And I will give you that because I participated in all this. So when they came out into that solid formation that today has become so formidable, called APC, by 2014-2015, remember that they tried it in 2011. But time was against them, and strategically led by them leaders held by Ashwaju Ahmed Tinubu at the time. Badilon was our meeting point, and we came to the conclusion. Remember also that at that point, up to 2014, in fact by 2006, Atiku had already fallen out with his boss, the president of Nigeria at the time, and was in court 14 times, where Obasanjo wanted him removed and wanted to drop him. And the Supreme Court then held that the allegiance of a vice president is to the country and not to a party or to an individual. And therefore, when he took oath of office as vice president, he took it for Nigeria. Therefore, his change of party was not going to affect his allegiance and his loyalty. And so he could not have been removed by anybody because he was not holding to anybody but to the country after swearing in. That was how he moved into ACN with Ashwaju to contest the 2007 election. This was between September 2006 and December 2006 when he emerged on the 22nd of December in Lagos. Thereafter, ANPP and a faction of dissatisfied PDP members got out to form a coalition for the 2011 election. Again, there was the issue of timing as enshrined in the Constitution, and so it was delayed to 2014. It is at 2014 that it emerged that the coalition will come. At this time, remember, they were governors of ANPP in northern Nigeria. Borno and Yobe, for example, never saw a PDP government. Kebbi, Sokoto, and Zamfara were in the same mode. Jigawa. It was later on that there was this treachery and this betrayal that people started moving. So people like Raja Tayebu Bafarawa, governor of Sokoto State, now led another party which he formed, the APC, and joined the coalition. That was when the first coalition was made. In doing all this, they produced governors and senators in the National Assembly. But as we speak, those governors and senators in the National Assembly formed itself a caucus of opposition parties that were constantly reminding the ruling party PDP then of what ought to be. But what do we find presently? People just wanted to win the election and answer the name senator or House of Reps or House of Assembly member or governor. Never because they have anything to offer. And it is shown by the way they are collapsing on a daily basis. Now, in desperation, PDP, which ought to now be more organized, after stayed in power for 16 years, one expected a better and more focused opposition. Let me tell you this. I'm a foundation member of the APC. I will tell you this. I am not an advocate of a one-party state. So we in APC will be very sad if we find no opposition. Indeed, we will encourage opposition.
Okay. What you're trying to say is it will be good, okay, if there is an opposition. Then let's go by saying, is alliance even important in a democratic setting when the system is okay?
Alliances are a constant ingredient in the political and democratic process. Because in an emerging democracy like ours, in 64 years, this is the first time in 20 years we are consistently contesting, getting from democratically handing over to the next regime. This is the first time we're doing that in 20 years plus. We've never had that. We tried it in the 60s after independence. In the 70s, there was no chance at all until 1979. It ended in 1983. And we ran into pseudo democracy, a gathered democracy from Babangida to Abacha. And we saw where we landed until it took an Abdul Salami to finally land us in 1999. So you will agree with me that the figure 9 and the figure 3 are very critical to Nigerian political history. 1963, the upheavals when we became a republic, the upheavals that led to the 64 Western Nigerian crisis. 69, we were at war. 79, there was the Second Republic that brought Shagari. 83, it was disrupted. 93, there was an attempt. Again, it was disrupted. 10 years after. And then, if you remember, again, 2003, do or die election that almost collapsed this country. And 2023, you saw again. By 2015, you saw a total change. 2013 was when we attempted to form the coalition that now metamorphosed and materialized in 2014, 2015 when the APC was formed with that coalition. So you see that some dates are very important and critical to Nigeria. But more importantly is the fact that in joining the parties, merging them is not the issue. It is what they are merged for. For instance, when you have somebody who insists that his mission on earth is to continuously contest presidential election, you are not going to likely find a common ground. So when you find the desperation with which PDP, which now translates to people displaced from power.
Oh, it's not People's Democratic Party anymore.
It's people displaced from power. Their desperation is non-palpable and incurable. They are nearly irredeemable because the factions are completely irreconcilable. So their redemption lies in the humility of the actors to accept that it is not a birthright to contest election for contest's sake, but to leave the grounds and nurture people. See what Ashwaju did. In all his years of nurturing the opposition, he never contested or accepted a position. He was neither a national chairman, he rather supported people and funded and brought people to help him fund the process of forming a truly democratic party. As you see APC, it is nearly impossible to destroy it. By the grace of God, you are not going to
but there are states that have crisis. Benue State have crisis and other states have crisis. So I'm talking about the APC now. So when you're talking about crisis now, it's not even in the oppositions, even the ruling party too. There are some states where there are people who are not satisfied with things happening. In Benue, the chairman was in court.
For your information and very necessary action and good information, it is an aberration to find in democracy everybody agreeing on one thing. So if you have Benue State, out of how many states of APC? Out of 36 states and FCT. And you say Benue State is in court, and you use that to extrapolate the crisis in APC, then clearly there is a problem of analysis. That will lead to paralysis. But let me give you this, that where you have APC today, it is built on a solid foundation of internal cohesion, deliberately put so, and there are checks and balances. Indeed, are you not shocked that it is in APC that a world chairman can remove a national chairman? That is how strong APC is. It is bottom top, never top bottom.
But let me do a correction. You know, I'm just using Benue State as an example. We have like 7 states where APC is searching for peace at the moment. And that's why it's on record. So it's not just.
Let me say this way. The first foundation I laid for you is that it is an aberration. It is unusual. It is not normal that in a democracy everybody must agree on one thing. That's no longer democracy. It is plurality of opinion and the diversity of the human beings around the place and the ideology and the agreements on consensus building. That is what it is all about. It's a continual process. It's not a destination. Consensus building is not a destination. It is a process. It is one major ingredient of democracy, that you must disagree. People must disagree and bring their opinion. That's why you say that majority will have their way, minority must have their say. So in that context, you now find that it is tyranny of the majority. That's democracy, tyranny of the majority. Because most of the time, what you see as wrong as an individual becomes right because the group said so, because the party says so, and you start hearing the mantra that the party is supreme. Party means the majority of the party members have agreed. Once they bear that consensus, if you do not like it, you keep quiet and bear it until you are able to amend your ways to meet with the group interest. And when people say all politics is interest, that interest is a collective interest, not individual interest. I remember we had a crisis when we finished from the 2011 primaries in Lagos, and there was a major crisis about going to court against Yaradua. We met in Lagos on the 5th of July, and on the 2nd of July, by 5th of July, we had a national EXCO meeting. I led the chairman of the state. I was leader of the ACN state chairman. And one of the things that was at play is, should we go to court, and should we accept government of national unity? Yaradua offered the government of national unity. It took the state chairman of it. Ashwaju agreed to a government of national unity. And I raised the notion that a government of national unity is a recipe for one party state, and that we cannot afford it. Eshimole then was governor of Edo State. He agreed with us, the state chairman, and Ashwaju bowed to that decision. The national secretary, Alhaji Dalhatu Bashir, who was then the national secretary, resigned on the floor once that resolution was taken. He resigned, and I'm not sure I've seen him in any other political party since then. This is the power of consensus. This is the power of a Democrat. That is why this Ashwaju is a Democrat to the core. I remember that incident very well. Ordinarily, he should roughshod us and write it down our throats as the leader of the party, that this is what he wants, and we must do it. We were offered 5 ministers under Yar'Adua, and I said on conviction, and my colleagues agreed with me, that it's a recipe for one party state. Remember, when we rejected that, who took the positions? ANPP. And ANPP never knew peace until it was disintegrated. In fact, Buhari had to leave, especially when he was abandoned in court. He had to leave to form the CPC. That was how ANPP started disintegrating.
All right,
so what we are saying here is that consensus building in a democracy, alliances and formation of coalition of forces, like we did in APC, to come and produce APC today, ACN, new PDP, ACN, AD, and once they came together, they formed the APC. That kind of coalition is deliberate and must come from serious partners, not from opportunistic infections in the political space.
But as it is right now, the Labour Party, don't you think these people can settle the crisis? 2027 is still far away. Don't you think this crisis can be settled and this alliance is formed and you see things happening? Because if you say these persons are just people who are hungry for power without having plans, I think someone may feel that sounds like someone who is an opposition trying to undermine the power of other political parties. Nigerians may think so, but as it is right now, we know there is a crisis in Labour Party especially, which is surprising a lot of people because of the Bure faction. Do you feel that this crisis, is it possible? Because you have said it, that there is no party on earth that everything will be smooth. When I was talking about APC, where about 7 states, the Benue, Adamawa, and the rest are having issues, and you said there is no party that will be free of maybe crisis, but then the ability to settle it. Don't you think these people can settle their crisis and give this party a run for their money, the ruling party?
Let me give you a dialectical and semantic dissection and interpretation of what we are. The challenges and disagreement that occur in a country can smolder into and snowball into a crisis. Challenges are not necessarily crisis. For instance, if I want to contest for an election and you say I cannot contest and you don't allow me to buy a form, we are disagreeing. But the situation in which 4 or 5 persons are told not to contest election and are denied the sale of forms, in which meetings are not held and people are insisting that there must be meetings, or meetings are held, a decision is taken and you disobey it smolders, and then you put that together, it becomes a crisis. Challenges, pockets of challenges can smolder into a crisis, can snowball into a crisis. In the context in which we are now, some of those resolutions you are talking about have gone. There are certain crises and certain challenges that become irredeemable and irreconcilable. For instance, no political actor wants to be embarrassed in the political space and will come back in the night. It was Zik, the great Zik in 1994, 1993, that said, do not bury your political opponent with all his hands in. Put one finger up because you might meet him. That nuisance you think that person has, at a certain point you might need that nuisance and you bring him out. Again, you also come to the conclusion that some of these people, were they really truly party men, or they came together for just one purpose and that purpose has been defeated? When you have only one agenda and that agenda is power grabbing, once it doesn't click, there is bound to be disintegration, as you find now. Presently, those you saw the obedient movement, for example. Some of us were impressed that we are having a third force, not because it was going to challenge us fundamentally, but that it will keep us on the alert and keep APC on its toe. That is the extent to which we need the opposition. But to say that it will sit us now, we don't have that presently. 2027 is not part of the discourse, because clearly, as God lives, Nigeria will definitely see changes, painful changes, because there is no pill given to cure any man that is ever sweet in his mouth. Any pill that is sweet is sedatory. It sends you to sleep. Cough syrup, for example, they are sweet, but once you take it, they tell you don't drive because you will doze off. And once you doze off, you lose the track. So every other one that is bitter keeps you alert and cures you fast. So the pills we are getting today as reforms, which people are thinking will be instrument to use against the government of APC clearly is a misnomer and is a misfiring, completely misplaced. And I think that the opposition will do us a favor. In fact, we are going to assist them and give them free consultancy on how to run opposition, because we are there for nearly 20 years. 16 years plus, we run the opposition. And I'm very sure Nigerians knew the meaning of opposition. Today, we are not seeing that and we are not happy. We want to see them put us on our toes. Because what we are doing at that time is giving alternatives, because we wanted a country that will be there for us to come and cure, to come and heal, to come and improve upon. Because the whole idea of government, and why you say government is a continuum, is not to continuous failure, it's not to continuous decay of infrastructure. You are talking about the national grid now. If you ask yourself, when was the last time the national grid was ever fixed? It's the grid that was fixed in 1970 that we are still using. The railroads that were fixed in 1970, just the new ones that are now about to start. So our infrastructure has been in a total state of disrepair. Nobody wanted to do it. For instance, somebody was telling me, an opposition person was telling me, and said what Tinubu is doing is not thinking about the next election. Why is he taking this type of decision? He should have done it in the second tenure. This is what all Nigerian leaders have been doing. It is when I come second tenure, I will do that at a time when they can do nothing to me. We saw the reforms of 2014, the national conference. If those things were implemented, Nigerians were all in agreement. But you know, with time, people change their perceptions and decisions and positions, especially of the political nature. That is what we lost. But the sections that concerned us, beavers and all that, the electronic transmission, all that thing, that the digitalization of elections and all that, were amended in 2 hours. They were amended in 2 hours. The electoral house amended in 2 hours in the National Assembly in 2014. But the fundamental thing that would have brought us this, look at the discourse they were given out with clauses that were impossible. What in the 80s we used to call IMF conditionalities. That is impossible conditions in which Nigeria cannot revoke them, and yet we must pay for darkness.
All right.
So we have all this going for us, but I think we can do a lot of things.
The discussion is still on. We'll return to talk more about this. We're talking about 2027 in focus, and looking at the crisis looming in the various parties, including the ruling party. But then, how formidable is an alliance going to be? We'll return from this break and we'll look at some of the things that Nigerians are going right now and how important 2027 will be. And that's going to be after this break.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper review, latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
It is still the discussions around the 2027 alliances and looking at the crisis going on in different political parties in Nigeria. Then, looking at what Nigerians are facing right now, a lot of people are going through so much hard time because of policies. And some persons, some Nigerians, some individuals are not even thinking about 2027 right now, but they are thinking of what they can even put in their mouth. Some persons will tell you, well, some policies have brought us to where we are today. And of course, I have an ex-lawmaker in the studio right here, and he's a public affairs analyst. And he has been speaking to us. It's good to still have you right here, Honorable. But then let's look at what is happening right now, apart from the crisis. Some persons will tell you, well, PDP is supposed to be the leading opposition party. But in PDP, we have the Atiku faction and we have the Wike faction. And there are some persons in every party, like you said, there are some persons that are even on a neutral ground that don't belong here and they don't belong there. I don't know if they are the type of people that may want to defect in the nearest future. Before we talk about defecting, because I wanted to ask a question about defecting, but let's look at what is happening in PDP right now, because you said something. You said the APC is still looking for a strong opposition to give them a run for their money, to keep them on their toes. As it is right now, must it be a party that will keep a ruling party on their toes as the opposition, or Nigerians? There are things Nigerians as individuals or as organizations or maybe civil society organizations there are things they can actually do to keep a sitting government on their toes too, especially during periods where Nigerians are going through a very hard time such as this.
It's a combination of both. Civil society groups, citizen action, opposition party. Even within the party, I remember in 1999 when we were in the house, the greatest opposition to the governor or to the government was members of the party.
Members of the same party?
Yes, the party. Yes. Were the major problems. Remember also Obasanjo and Naba. It was, or himself, Obasanjo and Okadigbo. The major crisis was coming from the PDP members. So it is a multi-traffic dimensional approach to democracy. The fertilizer upon which democracy feeds, especially at the governmental level, is the quantum and quality of diverse ideas, alternative ideas. That is the vegetation. That is where the vegetation of democracy comes from. It is never by the pleasures and the backslapping of political actors. Never. I don't believe that. So for us, I think that encouraging opposition, encouraging civil society groups, encouraging student union groups. I don't know, our student union organizations have gone too low. Their ambition is to look like a senators. So they have Senate and Parliament. We had that all along. NANS, from NANS, National Union of Nigerian Students, to National Association of Nigerian Students. That transmutation didn't change anything. We have all that. Most of them, example Akpabio, was a speaker in the Parliament of University of Calabar. Today he's the Senate President. He became commissioner, became governor, and now he's sitting in the Senate where he rightly belongs. He is a parliamentarian par excellence, but he went to the executive, so that gives him more exposure. Most student union activists have been there. Labaran Mako became minister. We have several of them here. Others are not allowed to come up because of their radical ideas like us. They try to put us away, but we are irrepressible, simply irrepressible, because we are made of steel. It is difficult for you to suppress us. You can suppress us from sitting in power, but you can't suppress us from expressing ourselves in the ways that we want to. So you can find that at all times, it is in the interest of the opposition parties to organize themselves. The camping should not be an alternative. The camp is not an alternative. You can agree with government in power without conceding your position in your party. If the government is doing something that is nice, you should encourage your members in parliament to support such things. It happened. We saw Pelosi and Trump at the time. It is not bellicosity. It is not belligerency. It's all about a war between parliament and this and opposition. When the state is in danger, when Osama bin Laden was terrorizing, from the Democrats, from the Republicans to the Democratic Obama, they went after him. They didn't abandon the chase for Osama. It took a Democrat to take out the war on terror that was started by the George Bush Jr. There was nothing like party in those matters. So you must put a line between the national interest and partisan interest. And at all times, if you find me in my analysis, I have always taken a swipe at my party where I feel they were not doing well, and where they were doing well. For instance, I have at one point, when the last service chiefs were not being taken out, I was one of those who joined the voices to say that they have overlived their usefulness and that they were no longer, they've lost ideas of how to keep security in the country. But never wanted them to go. I was one of those who insisted that they have overstayed. Some of them were due retirement and all that. We have several other such cases. In this government, when they brought out the list of governing councils, I was one of those who said we didn't meet the federal character criteria of our constitution. I did. On some of your sister stations, I did. It was not hidden. The president responded within 24 hours and brought out the list and notified the list and asked for a fresh list, which is now giving calmness in the party, in the party and within the country, because most of those who are appointed are not even party members. So what we are saying is that you must differentiate between partisan interest and national interest. So when we say oppose, you don't just oppose for opposition's sake. We have reforms, for example. Today the voices are dying down because most people did not even read the tax law. They just heard that it was about VAT, value added tax, which is consumption tax. Nobody wanted to know the details. It is just that once you say VAT, it is for Lagos. Let me now tell Nigerians that if the tax laws as brought by the president are implemented, Lagos will be the biggest loser. Because most of the things that used to go to the headquarters, corporate headquarters of organizations and companies, will now have to go to the states and local governments as direct charge. Example, Airtel, Globalcom, MTN calls. If you make a call now in Duse or a call in Bomaji, my village now, that VAT that comes from that one call of 11 naira, 4 naira automatically goes to Bokili government where I come from. 4 naira automatically goes to Geshua in Yobe State. From where the call is made, MTN is made to now show where that call comes from. So if Northern Nigeria has more population, it means more calls from there. It means more VAT. They eat more sugar than us because of their knack for shy, which is tea. That means that for every cube of sugar you buy, the VAT remains where you bought it. This is what it is all about. Lagos will no longer collect it because it used to go to Lagos at VAT. What the president is saying, and it's from Lagos. He was governor of Lagos and Lagos lives in Lagos. But this is what he's saying. It's equitable for Nigeria.
All right, let's get back to our time is almost up. Before we round up, we were talking about continuity. Why do we not have continuity in this country? Because you talked about the fact that while you were talking about the chase of for Obama, you talked about how it was started from the Bush down to where the issue was actually handled. But in Nigeria here, we don't have continuity, and it has posed a lot of problems. Then let's look at the present situation in the country too. Can we say some of the problems that we have in this country right now, as it has to do with hunger and crisis that we have within the average Nigerians, is part of lack of continuity?
Well, the hunger in Nigeria is not peculiar to Nigeria. That does not justify the hunger. The president himself, the parliament led by Akpabio, Senator Akpabio, the Senate president, everybody in government has acknowledged the fact that Nigerians are suffering. In every outing, in every public, everybody is crying of hunger because if you are not directly affected, you are indirectly affected. Because you have relations who depend on you. So you cannot claim to be rich where all around you there is poverty. So there is the communality of Ubuntu. You are because I am because you are. Without you, I can't exist in isolation. So to that extent, this government have responded with the kind of things you are seeing now, which I said will take it's a long term, the short, medium, and long-term impact of the things. There is continuity. I remember under the same Buhari, if you recall, most of Buhari's projects were continuation of what Obasanjo started in 1999, but which PDP after him couldn't continue. I'll give you an example. The Makurdi-Abuja road. It was started just a repair work from the Akwanga Hills and all that. Within 2 years, a year and 6 months of Buhari, he dualized the road from here to Makurdi. Nobody has shown us that road till today. It has shortened the journey by 1 hour. So you now take 2.5 hours and you're in Makurdi. It used to take us 3-4 hours to get to Makurdi. For those of us who use that route. Today, between Boko and Vandikia to go to Cross River State, you will use 4 hours. Because the road is completely collapsed. As we speak now, between Boko and Vandikia, with a journey of 15 minutes, takes you 3 to 4 hours today, as we speak. Thirdly, continuity also was there in terms of the pursuit of insurgency, banditry. It metamorphosed into banditry. That is not even a metamorphosis, it's a transmogrification. Because when the Boko Haram leadership was decimated, they broke, and those who had the arms broke into banditry and kidnappings in those areas and dispersed themselves to the northwest, northeast, and north central between Niger and Zamfara. You can see that the whole of that area is overtaken while it is going down in this. Now that they've moved the war theater to Sokoto, you are going to see it go down as well. That's why our military is stretched, but it's one of the most professional in the world. Our military is one of the most professional in the world. So I'm telling you now that hunger is related to lack of continuity. The rice that we started from Zamfara was now exporting rice to Lagos. Lagos now had a deal with Zamfara to supply rice. If other states are also in Cross River State, I heard they attempted the rice seedlings. Where is the continuity with that? We also have continuity with roads and rail. If there is rail now, people will not be discussing petrol. If we had pushed in on the issue of bringing 1,000 CNG buses, we won't be discussing what we are discussing in Abuja and the intra-city. Hunger will be reduced because to carry 1 yam from Ogoja to Abuja, you pay more than even paying transport for yourself. Today, that is what this tax reform seeks to stop. That yam you are carrying from Ogoja, a bag of gari or a basin of gari, 20 kg of gari that you are carrying from Ogoja to Abuja, that you are now paying 7,000 when your own transport is 5,000. You are paying 15,000 to carry 10 yams. The yams you bought for 5,000 in Ogoja, you pay 15,000 to bring them to Abuja. Because the driver has to pay from Vandikia, the first local government he meets as he leaves Ogoja. He moves to Boko local government, Boko, he pays. He moves to Guma, he pays. He gets to Lafia, he pays. He gets to Akwanga, he pays and gets to Kefia. And then at the end of the day, you pay more on the road for the yam. What they are saying to you on the reforms is that yam you are carrying or that basin of gari, once you have paid in Ogoja, all you need is to show the receipt to the next person in the other states. If you are carrying a cow from Yobe, from Potiskum, taking it to Port Harcourt, that once you pay in Potiskum for that cow on your way to Port Harcourt, all you need is to show that receipt, that tax release. So this is what the reform is all about, to stop multiplicity and duplicity of taxes. And then a woman carrying a basin of groundnut that is worth 1,000, you are asking to pay 100 naira for coming to sell groundnut in one tray. And somebody who said, so the woman selling banana, you should go charge him. What the tax reform seeks to do is that such people should be taken away from the tax net. So you can go and buy a car for 160 million and you don't want to pay 5 million naira tax in a month. But you have a car that you are fueling for more than 300,000 naira per state. So these are the kind of luxuries that you will seek to go. So hunger will be there, but I think the hunger will certainly go.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable CLETUS OBUN, an ex-lawmaker and a public affairs analyst, has been with us on Global Morning today. issues and of course matters arising from the 2027 election and of course the crisis in different political parties and the possibility of an alliance and of course if it is necessary to give the ruling party a run for their money, just to drive home the point and the necessity of democracy as we practice in our nation. I thank you very much once again for coming around, Honorable.
Thank you. I think my sympathies go with PDP and Labour Party. PDP meaning politically displaced persons, and the Labour Party laboring in vain. We hope that they will realize themselves and come together.
These people may come back together.
It
could be a gimmick. It could be, well, let's see what happens in 2027.
We know they have
you already said you needed somebody to give APC a run for their money. And of course, let's see what happens. Well, PDP, APC, Labour Party, go settle the rift because it's so unfortunate that there is a defection. A lawmaker just defected, and that's not good for the party. If everyone keeps defecting from where there is crisis, instead of putting it together and settling it, it won't be a fine one. Thank you very much for coming. All right, as a matter of fact, this is going to be the size of Global Morning for today. Well, myself and my colleague Queen have done what is necessary to set the pace for you for the day. Join us again tomorrow for another edition of Global Morning, and don't forget that so many other programs are lined up for you on Global Television throughout the day. Thanks, and stay very, very, very beautiful for the day. Bye-bye for now, and take care.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper review, latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.